grabar. Now, in order to introduce the class, I'm gonna play a video that talks about the second part that we need to discuss in this chapter. Now, the second part, I'm not gonna use this one. The second part is this one. Let's see. Now it's frozen. Oh my gosh. Let me see. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Now, this is what shift a PPF or production possibility frontier. What make this frontier move from here to here, or from here to here. Okay. Now I'm gonna play it and then we'll discuss it. Oh, let me play this one first. Let me play this one first and then we'll see the other one.
Students, this is Mr. Clifford. Welcome to ACDC Econ. Right now we're going to talk about how the production possibilities curve shifts. You must shift it. You must shift it. So it's important for you to get used to the idea of things shifting. In Econ, we explain concepts and then we put those concepts to numbers, those numbers on a graph, and then usually we shift the graph. You're going to see it in micro and macroeconomics, and it all starts with the production possibilities curve. We've established that any point inside the curve is inefficient because we could produce more of each good, and any point on the curve is efficient. And we know that a point outside the curve is impossible or not attainable given our current resources. But what if we get more resources? That's right, the production possibilities curve can shift. You must shift it! Now there's two things that shift the production possibilities curve: a change in the quantity or quality of resources, or a change in technology. For example, in 1920, there's a certain number of cars and corn that we could produce. But now we can produce way more than we did before. That point right there that was once impossible is now possible. This is because we have new and better resources and because we have better technology. Now there's one more option that can shift the curve, which is the idea of trade. Now when countries specialize in trade, they can get other products at a lower opportunity cost than if they produce it themselves. That means the production possibilities curve would shift out in the amount that they can consume. It doesn't mean that they can produce more than they could before, but they can get more than before because of trade. Now you're gonna learn a whole lot more about this, and you're gonna learn about something called comparative advantage. Make sure to watch this video, it's gonna help you out. Now let's get back to shifting the production possibilities curve. I'm gonna give you 4 examples, and I want you to figure out what happens to the production possibilities curve for consumer goods and capital goods. Now, a quick reminder, consumer goods are made for direct consumption, like pizza. Capital goods are made for indirect consumption, so it's like an oven. So capital goods are tools and machinery to produce consumer goods. For each one of these scenarios, draw a separate production possibilities curve and show what happens in each one of the situations. Number 1, what if we have faster computers and better technology? For number 2, what if a country's power plants were destroyed and so it had a decreased amount of electricity they could produce? For number 3, what if there was an increase in the number of people who are unemployed and there was a recession in the economy? And number 4, what if there's an increase in education? Make sure to pause this video and I'll go over the answers. For number 1, if we have new computers and better technology, the entire production possibilities curve will shift outward. We can produce more consumer goods and more capital goods. For number 2, a destruction of power plants would mean we have less resources, in this case electricity, which is super important for an economy, and that would cause a production possibilities curve to shift inward. We produce less consumer goods and we can produce less capital goods. And that's exactly what happened to Japan when there was the earthquake and the tsunami. The combination right here, which was efficient, became impossible because the resources were destroyed. Now let's compare that to number 3, when we have a recession and a bunch of unemployed workers. That would not be a shift in the curve, right? The curve does not shift inward because the workers are still alive. Now, if the workers died, that would mean we don't have a resource, the entire curve would shift inward. But the workers are alive, they're just not being used. That means it's a point inside the curve. Remember, a point in the curve is inefficient or it's unemployment of our resources. So workers who are unemployed is a point in the curve, not a shift in the curve. Okay, and for number 4, the last one, an improvement in education would result in a shift outward of the curve. Remember, this is not more workers, it's better workers. The quality of workers increase. This is the idea of human capital. If our workers are better trained and more intelligent, that would cause us to be able to produce more stuff. To help you understand this concept, go ahead and watch the 3rd episode.
Okay, now let's stop right here and let's watch the other one. I think this one is more deductive than the other one, okay? Let's Let's see.
Hello, this movie's gonna go over what causes a PPF to shift. So you've seen the other movies on production possibility curves, you understand that, but what can cause them to shift? So I've gone through a brief list and I'm gonna show what happens. The first is a change in technology, economic growth or growth in the economy, natural disasters or any type of disaster really that will destroy capital in the economy or perhaps reduce the population like a plague or war. And then investment versus consumer goods, how that can change a PPF. And so remember that when we draw our typical PPF, it's a snapshot in time. So we're holding everything else constant. But if in the next time period, say tomorrow or a year from now, technology were to get better and we can produce more stuff, then we'll see our PPF shift out. And so what goods we're producing doesn't really matter at this point because technology as a whole has gotten better, or there's been economic growth in the economy, so we can produce more. This shifts out. But what if we have a natural disaster like Hurricane Irene and some factories get destroyed? We'll actually see our PPF shift in because we can produce less goods. Also with war if they destroy some things. Now with the last one, we have investment goods or capital.
Okay, before we go further, now in this video, they explain, over here, these are the factors that could make shift the curve. Technology, for instance, let's pretend, let me go back over here. I think it was here. Not this one. Okay, here. Let's pretend over here at this point we can produce example like sandwiches. Let's think about Subways or sandwiches. They prepare sandwich. Okay. Let's pretend at this point they are able to produce 100 sandwich. Okay. Now they go to the market and they buy a new equipment. That means new technology in order to be more efficient and produce more efficient way. Maybe they get more resources in order to produce more sandwiches that they are allowed to produce. So it means because of the technology or maybe the education, they could make, let's give an example, like 20 more. They go from 100 to 120, for instance. That's as an example. It means that it grows, and the shift, and we have to shift this curve from these limits or this border to this border because of these factors. The technology. Now with the technology, it makes you produce more production. Okay, it means with technology or in an economic growth. These factors makes this production possibility border or limits or curve move from here to here. That's why they call it shift. Now, if there is a war, natural disaster, what is happening right now, we are not getting enough resources maybe. Now, that's why now these limits or this possibility production is going to go from here to here, and that's what they explain it, okay? They explain it, that they move. The shift of this production possibility, it could go forward or could go backwards. That's what they explain. That's the main idea of this topic today.
Like Hurricane Irene and some factories get destroyed. We'll actually see our PPF shift in because we can produce less goods. Also with war if they destroy some things. Now with the last one, we have investment goods or capital goods versus consumption goods. So if we choose to consume today a lot of consumption goods like jeans and food, then in the next time period, we're going to have a very small shift out, limited growth in the economy. That would be if we consume a lot. But if we decide to invest a lot, either in technology or factories, then we get a big shift out. and we see the PPF shifting out a lot more. And that's if we invest in.
Okay, finish here this video. Okay. Done, okay. Now let's move. Let's go to the PowerPoint. This one we started already. We're going to continue. Okay, this is the one that was the homework. And let's move on. Now, explain this on the utilization and the other section. On the utilization is when you are not using the condition in which economic resources are not being used to their full potential. And as a result, fewer goods and services are being produced than the economy is capable to produce. And we spoke about this, guns and butter, whether to produce guns and butter. Over here, every point along the PPC shows a different combination of military and consumer production. Regardless, the combination each point represents efficiently. This over here, any point in this curve means efficiently, the most that can be produced with the available resources. Any point inside the curve, now in this area, represent underutilization or the inefficient use of available resource. The shape of the PC shows a third important economic concept. This is the law of increasing opportunity cost, which states that as production switches from one product to another, from guns to what's the other word? Guns to butter, increasingly more resources are needed to increase the production of the second product, which causes opportunity cost. Now over here, there's an example. A nation makes 250 million pounds of butter, 0.1. I'm gonna show you eventually. But wants to make 280 million pounds of butter, 0.2. Now they wanna go from here to here, okay? Now the opportunity cost of making this extra 30 million pounds of butter is 37 million guns that they are not going to produce. They are going to sacrifice, that's the opportunity cost, in order to produce 30 million points of butter, okay? Now this is the math, I did the math over here. Okay, now this, if the nation then increases its output of butter further from 280 to 312 pounds, 0.5 over here, it would have to give up 63 million guns. That's the opportunity cost, which is an opportunity cost of nearly 2 guns for every pound of butter. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, I wanna go to this section now. Changing production possibility. The PPC illustrates a country present production possibility as if all resources are fixed. However, a country's supply of resources is likely to change over time. When additional resources become available, new production possibility beyond the original frontier becomes attainable. It means that if you get new resources available, then you can move that production possibility curve, frontier, and you're gonna obtain another curve. Over here, there is an example. It says that back at the beginning of the United States, they start in the area of Atlantic coast, and then eventually they move to the Pacific coast. Because of that, they could get more natural resources. And also remember, at those times, immigrants have added a huge number of workers. So that means that his production possibility shift from here to here, okay, forward. The addition of new resources or the more efficient use of resources already available meant that United States could produce more goods or services. This is shown on the PPC as a shift of the curve upward. or to the right, as figure 1.6. Over here is the picture 1.6, and they move from here to here. Well, this is the example, but they have to move from here to here. Now over here, there is some information, important information. It says more resources or increase productivity. Shift the PPC outward. Shift from here to here. This means that the economy can produce more of both. Can produce from 250 up to it's like 280, something like that, or 285, no, less than that, 275, maybe something, 275, no, 80, 280 millions, maybe around here. And this means that economy can produce more of both guns and borders. And over here they produce 310 or 15, something like that. Now they are able to produce more than that over here, not here, here, okay? That's why they shift this line shift from here, from point 1 to point 4, which was a production impossibility. Remember, at the beginning, it was an obtainable area. Now, because of the increasing of productivity, it could shift. Cambiar, shift means cambiar from here to here. Okay, now explain it. Everything is in your book. Now I just grab the most important information, and also is everything is in your book. Remember, you need to write the vocabulary, the topic, write the topic and the vocabulary, and then you need to do, these are the assignment for next class. That is on page 23. You have to do assignments, number 1, number 2, those are questions, and they are very easy, guys. Questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and also, this is my challenge for you, for the ones who didn't do the graphic. Now the challenge is this one. In the same page, this is page 23, there is an activity over here. What it says over there? What it says? Anybody read it?
Creating a PPC.
Yes, you need to write. It says creating a PPC. Now over here you have the chart. You need to write that chart in your notebook, and then you have to answer these letters: A, B, C, and D. A, B, C, and D. A, B, C, and D. You have to write the chart. You need to write the chart and then create the graphic, and then you have to place all this information that has over there: A, B, C, and D. Okay, then you have to answer this question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have to complete this activity. This is very easy. It's easy. You can do it in 20 minutes. You can resolve all these questions. Okay, guys, I think we don't have enough time. It's 10:42. I think basically that was what I wanted to show you.